Welcome to multiplication law of logarithm. In this lesson, I would like to show you how to multiply numbers together using the logarithm table. Okay, multiplication law of logarithm. It states that when two numbers are multiplied, the logarithm of the numbers will be added together. So for an instance, we're given this number 254 multiplied by 72.6. What the multiplication law says that we should determine the log of both. As you can see in this example, 254 we find the log, and then 72.6 we also find the log. And multiplication law says that we need to add them together. So whenever you have times multiplication in between numbers, it means you're going to add them together. That's the reason why we have this plus right here. So the plus is signaling the multiplication law. So let's look at the first example, which is the example 1. We're asked to use the log table to find 254 multiplied by 72.6. Okay, the very first thing you should do here is to draw your number log, and then the next thing is to arrange the numbers 254 and 72.6. Okay, so we want to determine the characteristic and the mantissa. So we are making use of our calculator to do this. If you look at these both numbers are greater than 1, so it will be easy for us to make use of our calculator to determine it. Okay, fire on the calculator. Okay, the next thing is to use our log. Press your log 254, and then press equals to or enter on your calculator. If you can see right here, we have 2.4048. If you remember, the 2 is the characteristic and the 0.4048, that's the mantissa. So the mantissa is only 4 digits. So that means if you need to approximate, like if you look at now, if you approximate 3 will still give you 0. That means you still have the same 8 here, so you don't need to bother about it. So that means for our logarithm, therefore 254, it will be 2.4048. okay, so we have 2.4048. so let's determine the one for 72.6. find the calculator, and then log 72.6, we press equals to or enter, and you can see right here we have 1.8609. then we also have some other numbers, so we need to approximate to the 4 digits. So our mantissa should be 4 digits, so we are approximating to this 9. So let's see right there, if you approximate this 6 right here becomes 7. If we approximate 7 to this 4 and to this 3 becomes 4, and the approximation of 4 will give 0. If you remember, approximation from 0 to 4 will give 0, and approximation from 5 to 9 will give 1. So if you approximate the 4, that's 0. That means we'll still have 1.8609 as our logarithm for 72.6. okay, having gotten that, then because we have multiplication here, that means we are going to apply the multiplication law, and the multiplication law says that we need to add the logarithm of the numbers together. So let's add them together now. 8 plus 9 will give us 7. okay, as you can see in this answer, 8 plus 9 is going to give us 17, and we write down 7. Then we take the 1 to the next stage of addition. Then we add the 1 plus 4, that's 5, plus 0, that will still give us 5. Then the next phase, 0 plus 6, that will give us 6. And then 4 plus 8, that's going to give us 12. We write down 12, and we carry the 1 to the next stage. 1 plus 2 plus 1, that is 4, as you can see here all in this answer. So the very next thing to do now, having add them together, is to determine the antilog. So using our calculator, if you look at the number we have here, the number is not in bar, so it's in positive characteristics. So it will be very easy for us to use our calculator to do that too. So fire on the calculator, and then this time around, if you look at, we have 10 raised to power s here. That's our antilog. So to actually do that, you need to press down your shift on your calculator, or some calculator might have second function. So press down the shift. It's going to indicate it that the shift is right there. Then the next thing to do is to press your log, and then press the number you're looking for, 4.2657, and press equals to or enter on your keyboard, on your calculator, sorry. And you can see right here we have 18437. Remember that it will be a 4 figure, it should be a 4 digit. So that means it should stop around here. It should start from 184, then and stop around here. That means we're going to approximate every other thing to this position right here. So we should have something like 184. Then if you approximate 7 to this particular 3 that is here, this 3 becomes 4. Approximation of 7 will give 1. 1 plus 3, and that's going to give us 4. Then notice something, that this 7 is a whole number. That means since we approximate it, that means we need to use 0 to represent it. So, but anything after this decimal, we don't need to use 0 to represent them. So it's because this one is part of the whole numbers, that's the reason why we need to use 0 to represent this. So our final answer there will be 18440. You remember we approximate it 18440. So our antilog will be 1844. That is what we got from the table. Then the final answer will be 18440, as you can see from the calculator when we did it together. So this value you see here, if you make use of your logarithm table, all you need to do is to check your log 25 under 4, and you definitely know that your characteristic will be 2 right here, if you remember, and your characteristic for this one will be 1. Then when you go to your log table, you're checking 25 under 4, and that is going to give you the mantissa as you see it right here. And log 72 under 6, that's going to give you 0.8609, which is the mantissa. That's from your table. Then for the antilog, when you go to your antilog table, all you are going to check through is your 0.26, that's 0.26 under 5 difference 7, if you're making use of your antilog table. So this is our final answer for the example 1. Okay, let me show you the example 2. Example 2, we are asked to evaluate using log table 84.75 multiplied by 1.672. The very first thing you need to do is to draw your number log, and then the next thing is to arrange your number. So since we have two numbers here and we have multiplying between them, so let's arrange it. And the next thing is for us to determine our log. So to do that, if you're making use of your log table, all you need to do is to go to your logarithm table and then go to 84 under 7 difference 5. That's for this one. Then just to get the mantissa, then the characteristic for the 84 will be 1. If you remember your characteristic, That means you count the number you have, the number of digits you have before the decimal. 1, 2. That's then you remove 1 from it. 2 minus 1, that will be 1. So your characteristic here will be 1. And the characteristic of this one will be 0, since you only have 1 digit here before the decimal. So 1 minus 1, that will give you 0. Okay, for the sake of speed, we're going to make use of our calculator. Since the two numbers that we have here, they are greater than 1. Okay, so let's find on our calculator. Okay, let's look for log 84.75. I'll press equals to or enter, and that is giving us 1.9281. Then we have 3, 9. So all you need to do is to approximate to the 4 digits. So the mantissa should be 4 digits. So when we approximate this 9 to this 4 and to this 3 becomes 4. So if you approximate 4, 4 is still 0. That means we still have 1 here. 0 plus 1. Here will still be 1. So our final answer will be 1.9281. So the log of 84.75 is 1.9281. So let's do the same thing for this other number. Find your calculator and then get the log of log 1.672 and press equals to or enter. You see right there, that's 0.2232. So if you need to approximate any other number to this 4 digit, this is where we have the 4 digit after the decimal. Okay, so if you approximate 6 to this 3 becomes 4. And then if you approximate 4 will give 0. 0 plus 2 is still 2 that will be there. So our final answer for this logarithm will be 0.2232. So obeying the multiplication law of logarithm, if we have multiplication in between 2 or more numbers, we need to add them together. So let's add them together now. 1 plus 1 is going to give us 3. 8 plus 3 is going to give us 11, and we write down 1. Okay, so let's see. 1 plus 2, that's giving us 3. Then 8 plus 3, that's giving us 11. So we write down the 1 and transfer the 1 to the next stage. So that 1 that we transfer there plus this 2, that's 3. Then plus this 2, that makes it 5. That's the reason why we have the 5 here. Then we now have 9 plus 2, that will give us 11. So we write down the 1 and transfer the 1 to the next stage. So 1 plus 1, that will give us 2. 2 plus 0, that will still give us the same 2. You can see right there. So we have 2.1513. So if you're making use of your anti-log table here, so all you need to do is to check 0.15 under 1 difference 3. This time around, you're going to your anti-log table. Go into your anti-log table, not the log table now. Go into your anti-log table and check 0.15 under 1 difference 3. Okay, so for the sake of speed, we're going to make use of our calculator to do that. Okay, to get to our anti-log, we'll hold down our shift, press the shift or your second function on the calculator, and then press your log. Then go to your number 2.1513, then press equals to or enter. So our final answer there will be 141.677. So this thing was supposed to be 4 figure, so it should stop around this 6. So all we need to do is to approximate every other thing to this 6. So if you approximate this 7 to this 7 here, this 7 becomes 8. If you approximate the 8 to the 6 becomes 7. A point of note, any number from 0 to 4, if you approximate it, is going to give you 0. But any number from 5 to 9, when you approximate it, is going to give you 1. So that means your 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whenever you approximate them, is going to give you the value of 1. Any number from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, when you approximate it, is going to give you 0. So that means this particular place now will be 7. So our final answer there will be 141.7. So through your logarithm table, you have 1417. If you are using your anti-log table, you have 1417. That's from the table. Then the next thing for you now is to read where your decimal place will be. You know this is 2. We add 1 to it. If you remember the formula to get your decimal place, you add 1 to your characteristic, and that's 2 plus 1. So if that's 2 plus 1, the next thing to do is to count from this position here. Count 3 to your right hand side. So you're counting before the 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry. Let's recount that again. It's 3 we are counting, sorry. 1, 2, 3. So your decimal is around here. But if you're making use of calculator directly, you don't need to go through this. I'm just explaining this for if you're using your 4-figure table. So, but if you're using your calculator directly, the moment you enter this number into your anti-log, is going to give you the direct answer, and that this is the direct answer here that we calculated from the calculator, 141.7. Okay, now is the time to show you example 3. In this example, we're asked to evaluate the log table for 0.00349 multiplied by 678000. Okay, very first thing you do is to draw your number log, and then since we only have times in between them, so arrange the numbers. Okay, the next thing to do is for you to determine the log of both numbers. So if you look at this first number here, this first number is less than 1. So if this first number is less than 1, well, using calculator might be a bit confusing, because if you press this value direct to determine the log through your calculator, is going to give you the wrong answer. Okay, but we are making use of a work around it. But if you're making use of a 4-figure table, you might not have much challenge. So all you need to do if you're making use of your 4-figure table is to check log 34 under 9. But before that, you need to determine your characteristic. And to determine your characteristic, from our former lessons, you notice that we determine the reference position whenever we have a number. When we are asked to determine the number, a particular number that is less than 1, so we make use of the reference position. So, and the reference position will only occur when we encounter a non-zero, the first non-zero that we encounter in a particular number. The first non-zero digit that we'll encounter in a particular number. If you look at this number now, the first non-zero is this 3. So that means reference number will be after it. Reference number will be in between 3 and 4. So if reference number is here, all we need to do is to count our decimal place from here. 1, 2, 3 to where we have that decimal, to where we have the reference position. So that means we have 3 there. That means our characteristic will be bar 3. You can see it right there, bar 3. Then having gotten your characteristic to be bar 3, the next thing for you to do is to go into your log table and then check the log of 34 under 9. Or if you're making use of your calculator, you can use your calculator. So press your if you remember that I want you to take notes here. We've determined the characteristics here, so we are only making use of a workaround here. So we are determining, press log 3 4 9, then press enter or equals to. Then the only thing we need here is the mantissa, so we don't need this characteristic. We only need the mantissa, which is a 0.5428. Then if we need to approximate to the 8, you remember that the mantissa is only 4 digits, so that means we are stopping at this 8. So let's try to approximate. If you approximate our 5 to this 3 to this 2, is going to give us 3, and we approximate the 3 will give us 0. That means we still have 8 as our value here. So for the log there, the only thing we are making use of is the mantissa side, which is 0.5428. That is what we are making use of there. So you can see right there. So we determine the reference position, and we got the characteristic here to be bar 3. Then we make use of a workaround, making use of our calculator. So but if you go into your 4-figure table and just check your log table under 34 under 9, it's going to give you 5428. Okay, the next thing to do now is to determine the log of the second number. If you look at this number is greater than 1, so we can use our calculator to do it directly. Okay, sorry, I need to show you something first. I didn't show you this when I made mention of this to give you a wrong answer when you make use of your calculator. If you press this direct using your calculator, it's going to give wrong answer. Let me quickly show you that before we continue. Find your calculator, then just press log 0.00349 and press enter or equals to. You can see right there that the value is wrong. So this is my point of note to you. Whenever you have any number that is less than 1, do not determine the log directly. You just make use of a workaround. The first thing you do is to determine the characteristic and then take out the non-zero that you have there, and then determine the workaround using the log. And then when you have the answer of the log, all you need to take out from it is the mantissa. That's the 4-digit mantissa after your decimal. So you don't need the characteristic there. Okay, so let's go to this one now. So using our calculator to do this, all we need to do, put on the calculator. Then since this number is greater than 1, so we can determine it directly. Log 6 7 8 1 0 0, and then press equals to or enter. Directly, this is our answer. We have 5.8312. Remember, we need to approximate to a 4 digits. That's the mantissa side now needs to be 4 digits. That means our digits will stop around this 2. So if we approximate our 9 to this 2 becomes 3, if you remember. So we now have 5.8313. Okay, so we have 5.8313. So obeying the multiplication law of logarithm, it says that when we have multiplication in between numbers, 2 or more numbers, that means we need to add them together. Okay, so that's the reason why we have this plus. So adding them together now, okay, we have this answer. So let me quickly explain that. 8 plus 3, that will give us 11. So we're going to write down 1 and then carry the 1 to the next stage. So the one that will carry to the next stage, that 1 plus this 2 will give 3. 3 plus this 1, that will give us 4. Then 4, this 4 plus 3, that's going to give us 7. Then 5 plus 8, that's giving us 13. So the 13, we're going to write 3 and we carry the 1 to the next stage. So the next stage will now be the 1 plus this 5, that will give us 6. This bar 3 means minus 3. So if you have minus 3 plus, when we added 1 plus 5, it gave us 6. Okay, this is it right here, minus 3 plus 6. So you're owing somebody 3 cents, and then you now pay 6 cents to the person you're owing. Are you still owing the person? Well, as a matter of fact, you're not owing the person again. Instead, the person is balancing you 3 cents. It means since it's balancing you, so we call that plus 3. So if you write 3 plus 3, you're still talking about the same thing. That's the reason why we have this 3 right here. Okay, then the next thing will now be for us to determine our antilog. So our antilog will be 2366. Okay, so let's try to use our calculator to find that, so that we want to know whether this answer is correct or not. So fire on your calculator. Okay, then shift log 3.3741, press equals to or enter. You can see right there that we have 2366. So from the 4-figure table, this will be the value. So this value is correct. So we close. So our final answer there is 2366. Now is the time to show you the example 4. In this example, we asked to evaluate using the log table 0.0572 multiplied by 34.5 multiplied by 782.3. So the very first thing you need to do is to draw your log table. That's the number log. Okay, after then, the next thing to look at is, if you look at, we have 3 numbers here, and we have multiplication connecting the 3 numbers. There is multiply here and there is multiply here. So we can just arrange the 3 numbers directly and then determine their log. So if you look at the first number here, the log is less than 1. So if you use your calculator to determine the log here, it's going to give you a wrong answer. So the workaround might be for you to determine your characteristic first and then use your calculator to find the log of 57 under 2. Okay, let me show you that. The very first thing, determine your characteristic using your reference position. So our reference position will fall in between 5 and 7. Remember the first non-zero digit, and the first non-zero digit is 5. So if we count from this decimal 1, 2 to our reference position, so that means our characteristic will be bar 2. So if our characteristic is bar 2, the next thing for us is to look for the log of log 572. So if you're making use of your 4-figure table, all you need to do is to check 57 under 2. But if you're using your calculator, you can go along. Let's take the calculator and just do a walk around it. Log 572 and then press equals to or enter. Then it's going to give this value. Then we are not making use of the characteristic that appear, but the only thing we are making use of here is a mantissa. That's the 4 digits. So we have 0.757. So we are stopping around here because 4 digits. So that means we have to approximate to this value here. So if you approximate this 6 to this 9, it becomes 10. So if you approximate 10, it's going to give 1. 1 plus this 3 is going to give 4. That means our mantissa there will be 0.7574. So that's the workaround. That means we are not making use of this characteristic here. So that's the workaround I talked about, is for us to just extract the mantissa out. Okay, so we now have 7574. So the next thing for us to do now is to determine the log of 34.5. So let's use our calculator. So if you look at 34.5 is greater than 1, so we can determine the log directly. Log 34.5 equals to enter. So that's give us 1.5378. So this 8 is where we are approximating to, because the mantissa need to be 4 figure. So if we approximate the 9 to this 1 becomes 2. If we approximate 2, it's still 0. So 0 plus 8, it will still be 8. So we have 1.5378. Okay, the next thing for us to do is to determine the third one, which is 782.3. If you look at this number again, this number 2 is greater than 1. So using calculator will be a straightforward thing. So fire on the calculator and then press log 782.3 and press your enter or equals to. So we have 2.8933. So we are supposed to stop here. So we need to check other numbers to see the approximation that we can make. So since the next number before it, the next number after it is 7. So if you approximate 7, 7 will give us 1. So we add the 1 to the 3 and that will give us 4. That means we have 2.8934. Okay, so obeying the multiplication law of logarithm, it says that when we have 2 or more numbers that are multiplied, if you look at these numbers now, we have multiply here, we have multiply here. Multiplication law says that we need to add them together, their logs together. So that's the reason why we have this plus here. So we are adding them together now. Okay, so it will give us this value. So if we add it together, 4 plus 8, that's giving us 12. 12 plus 4, that will give 16. So we're going to write 6, and then we'll take the 1 to the next stage. There's 1 left. So 1 plus this 7, that's going to give us 8. 8 plus 7, that will give us 15. 15 plus 3, that's going to give us 18. So we write down 8 and transfer the 1 to the next stage. So 1 plus 5, that's 6. 6 plus 3, that's 9. 9 plus 9, that will give us 18. So we write down 8, we transfer 1 to the next stage. 1 plus 7, that's 8. 8 plus 5, that's 13. 13 plus 8, that will give us 21. So we write down 1 and we transfer the 2 to the next stage. Okay, then that 2 plus this 1, that's 3, plus this 2, that's 5. Then if you remember, there is bar 2 here, and bar 2 means minus 2. So we now have something like this. So we have minus 2 plus 5. Okay, so this simply might be you're owing somebody 2 penny and you pay 5 penny to the person. Are you still owing? Well, you're not still owing. Instead, the person is balancing you 3. So in such an occasion, so the person is balancing you 3. So that means we have 3 there. So that's the reason why we have this 3 right here. Okay, the next thing for us to do now is to determine the antilog. So we're going to determine the antilog. Let's find our calculator. If you look at the antilog 2 is greater than 1, so that means directly we can determine it. Press down your shift or your second function, then log, and then press the value 3.1886 and press equals to or enter. Then that's going to give us a value of 1543.8. So since we are making use of a calculator, we only need 4 figure for our antilog. That's what we need. So that means we need to approximate from here. So if you approximate from this 8 to this 3 right here, this 3 will become 4. So we now have 1544. So our antilog there, if we check it, will be 1544. So our final answer, as we see from our calculator, is 1544.